You will have any questions on the minutes of the meeting from last May?
It's the one that I suggested under the section on the memorial
That was changed.
committee, that it wasn't the end, the committee's still gonna consider additional, and then I believe Mr. Corell's name was spelled incorrectly at the end.
Okay,
It was Corell.
okay. You wanna make a motion to,
Any other changes, any other discussion? Do I hear a motion to
I
accept
move
them?
that the motions be accepted with Jeffrey's
okay.
input changes.
Any second?
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, just to backtrack just 1 second, we do have a quorum. We have an alternate and a member on the phone.
Doug Milchick and Michael Veer.
Michael Veer. Okay?
Yes.
All right, let's move on. I'll give my report quickly, but it'll touch to some other things we'll be discussing throughout the meeting. So I attended a meeting by phone with the Country Club of Fairfield, the current president, the incoming president, and an engineer who was, he actually is a member of the club, and he's a coastal engineer with a firm, Moffett and Nickel, and he's Santiago Afagame, who's a very, very knowledgeable about this project and other similar projects. He's had a lot of experience with the Corps of Engineers, so he knows exactly what we're talking about. He had maps, he had lots of things to discuss, and of course, what we're thinking at this point is to place a couple retaining pools, a retaining pool, one either inside or another, or outside of the, just inside of the channel. I'm sorry, inside of the breakwater on the beach side, or on the other side towards the harbor. We discussed that, and they kind of had a big concern about the safety of such a large ditch right next to playgrounds and the kids' pools and all the rest of that, and then of course you'd have to put up some railing or something to keep kids out so they wouldn't get hurt. I think that's something that they're kind of rejecting for that reason. Plus, it's not going to look very good to them or the neighbors or anybody. Other suggestion that was in the John Robert's report that's actually quite dated, I think it was 2011, had placing some wind barriers with vegetation to stop the flow. But we know it's not a wind movement of sand, it's water movement of sand, both through the jetty and above the jetty and over. So discussing it with them, they recognize all of this, and you know they understand the need to be able to do what has to be done to prevent it from continuing to shoal year after year after year. Their position is they don't have any real stake in the harbor itself, so they're not going to be willingly to contribute anything towards any dredging that goes on or any movement for remediation that would be considered, nor would they pay for any studies along those lines. They wouldn't restrict movement if we actually wanted to take action, but I'm sure that they would want to have first approval of any action that would take place on their property. That's really the bottom line. So if we want to pursue something, we'd have to develop a plan and figure out what it is that we want to do, and then see if it's feasible by them, and permitting, and then bidding, and then execution. So that's where that stands as of right now.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
Does that mean then that what we're talking about going for the SHIP grant would be that we would ask for help in designing some type of system that we could generate the drawings to show them what things would look like?
You're saying we should apply to a SHIPS grant to get funding, partial funding, to fund an engineering study to give us a plan for remediation, right?
And then we've got to find the other money since it's not a full grant.
Right. Why don't we bring that up when we talk about sand management later on?
Great.
Okay?
Just make one comment, Chris. Back in 2009 or 2010, when the club had its coastal site plan to redo the beach pavilion, we had a long discussion about this, and at that time the club and the Harbor Commission found a favorable recommendation toward that. But the club had indicated their willingness to work with, I don't know if that turned out to be a condition in the approval, a condition of approval by TP&Z, but the club did indicate that they were committed to, at that time, to working with the commission to try to find a solution to the issue of the sand. Whether that's a binding condition in the approval or not, but at least it was an expression of, at that time.
Right, so I
to
think,
work with us.
I think their expression of a desire to aid in that is to not to hinder or obstruct our access, and to participate in the planning of it so that they can, that a satisfactory plan could be developed for both their interests and the harbor's interests. That's the way I get it. Any questions or comments? We had the blessing of the fleet and the Southport Street Parade this past weekend. It was a wonderful event. Weather was perfect. The seas were calm. It was flat, and a lot of boats got wet. It was under normal circumstances, and it was all set up at the yacht yard. It was wonderful. And the parade looks like it, I saw it go by. I was on the boat, but things were going very well. And I think it pulled off without a hitch, even though they couldn't go to the lower wharfs. I think that all went well.
I have 3 programs left out of 400. If anybody wants to take a look at these. And the pancake breakfast at the Southport School was very, very nice. We put programs at all the tables, and people were there with the kids, and they were all looking at the programs. And here's, again, a couple more of these if anybody wants to.
I don't know how many boats were actually blessed, but they had the 3 ministers there. How many boats do you
I
think?
know there were over 50. That's when we
50
lost count.
boats.
Yeah.
That's a good number.
It was a lot of boats. Yeah, it was wonderful.
It was.
And I might add blueberry pancakes this year too, especially
Mm.
At the Southport School?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
very nice.
This Thursday, day after tomorrow, is the 14th annual Southport Harbor Safety Drill, which is hosted by Pequot Yacht Club. This is every year a very well orchestrated emergency is devised, and the switch is pulled, and police and fire and ambulance and everyone involved jumps to solve this mock crisis. And I saw it last year. It's extraordinary. And typically what they do is they throw in an extra curveball. So here's the problem, and then there's another problem they throw on top of it to make it even more complicated. Last year, if I remember correctly, it was 2 boats that in the junior program that had capsized and injured young people were there. And then they had radio traffic that was confusing people. There was, a shark attack, apparently. And that all that clutter on Channel 16, it felt like that might hinder the process. In the after-action review, I recall the police and the fire said, no, we operate on our own band. We're fully automated. We know what we're doing. I mean, we have somebody who's monitoring that. If there's new news that we don't have, they'll bring it to us. But we're operating on our own dedicated bands that are not accessible. Anyway, so that's going to be going on Thursday, and
Can we watch it?
yeah, I mean, from shore, but you can't
From
really see
shore,
much.
yeah.
Well, we are, John and I are going out on the Harbor Master vessel, so if any of you want to join us, we usually go and observe and stand back and make notes as to what's working, what isn't, so we can.
What time do you
post morning? It's at 9
9
o'clock
o'clock.
from Pequot. We can meet you at 9 o'clock in Pequot. Bring
I'll-
a PFD if you have one. If
I'll be
not,
going out on the
let me know.
launch
Okay,
with Travis.
okay, good. So if you want to meet us, or 8:30 at Yee Yacht
At the
Yard.
dock.
At Yee Yacht Yard, yeah.
Okay, finally, I added an item that, at the last meeting, I said I was going to speak to Anthony Calabrese from the park, who's head of Parks and Rec, about the dredging of the around the yacht yard. I've had conversations with him about this in the past, and he's well aware of it. And this time I emphasized the risk that is posed by first responders' access to yacht yard to, if they're dropping somebody off to an ambulance waiting in the parking lot, but they can't get to the dock to let them off, that's a problem. He's aware of the problem, and his conversations with police and fire is that they don't see it as a problem, and they'll figure out some way to deal with it anyway. So from his standpoint, the dredging of that harbor, of that area, is not high on their list. In fact, what is high on their list is dredging Penfield Marina, South Benson Marina, where there are 600 large boats as opposed to a couple dozen dinghies at your yacht yard. That's the way he sees it, and I can understand that. I did comment that, this is a couple dozen dinghies that go out to bigger boats, and that's what makes this harbor function. And at some point, those boats won't be able to function either, and therefore the harbor will be impaired. But I'm getting the impression that there is no fire under their backsides to proceed with something like this. I asked them to please ask around if there are people he knows in the police and fire who actually do feel there's a need to stress it and to let me know if anything gets moved.
The other part of that, though, Chris, too, is that couldn't put in the last plank of the boat launching ramp because the area wasn't dredged. So the plan for restoring the boat launching ramp that Public Works implemented couldn't be completed because of the lack of dredging. And the permit was to the Harbor Commission, and then the permit expired and couldn't be renewed.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think the need and the justification for dredging is well known by all participants. But we don't actually have the momentum within Parks and Rec or Public Works to make that happen. I was discussing this with Brian earlier today, and I suspect that we and or Corps of Engineers are going to want to have some bathymatic soundings along the harbor where they dredged before to see if there's been, to measure what we've observed as additional shoaling at that place dredged last year or year before. Yeah, last year. When they do that, and when that is commissioned to be done, we might, and if that's presumably raised, we might ask them to go a little bit further and stretch it into the yacht yard area, so we have, if not something to measure against, past ones, that is, official rather than our own observation with depth sounders on our boats.
The Corps would do their own survey. They wouldn't hire a contractor. They have their survey crew, and they typically go and do
Well,
the
one way or the
surveys.
other. I mean, if it's them or it's us, we might ask them if there's it possible to extend that zone so that we can have some useful information. And that's the end of my report. Any further questions on that? Harbor Master report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll summarize the last few weeks, and it's been busy, as you can imagine. Boats are all filling up the moorings. We do right now have one available mooring in the Helix area off of Perry Green. It's been offered to several boats who have declined, which you have a right to do for 1 year. That's an area where large sailboats go. I have one vessel now who's going to let me know the next day or two if he's interested. Otherwise, I keep going down the list. I have one extra mooring, which we've eliminated by the lower wharf. As you know, there used to be two of them right off of the dinghy docks by the launching ramp. We only have one there now because of the construction, so we can stay out of their way. As soon as that's done, we'll probably put that one back in that position and assign it to someone. What we've done since last time, since June 16th, May 21st, we responded to a complaint of a large log in the inner harbor. May 22nd was the Memorial Day Sea Ceremony following buoy 11 getting out of position and floating in. It's now on shore yacht yard. Coast Guard has been notified. Still have not replaced it, nor have they replaced the red buoy that's been missing since, or not missing, it's been out of position, I should say, to the south since April 1st, and I keep reminding them, and it's on their list. On May 26th, we went out to a report that was called in of a missing buoy in the harbor, but it was unfounded. The buoys were all in position. Someone thought that there was another buoy missing, but it wasn't. May 27th, we did water sampling with the Conservation Department, Save the Sound. They do a daybreak water sampling every other week. May 31st, we pulled the boat out of Fairfield, and I should add, I tried pulling it out of its south in the yacht yard, and it's not steep enough to get the boat out of the water. It's a very shallow ramp, and I couldn't get the trailer in far enough without putting the car in the water, and I didn't want to put the back end in the water. So it was brought on the 31st, Sunday afternoon, back to the dealer in Norwalk. They spent the next 4 days painting it, getting the bottom ready, tuning up or changing the oil on the engine. From June 1st till as recent as today, we've been dealing almost daily with an issue in South Pine Creek. A dock was installed pursuant to a permit issued 3 years ago. The gentleman added a floating boat lift, which at low tide and the hour on either side of low tide completely blocks access to Pine Creek for any vessels. One can barely get by with a kayak or a canoe or a stand-up paddleboard. I've got deep involved. They are coming out tomorrow, as a matter of fact, because the property owner has now agreed to remove the lift. We've also talked to them about what is there. We took some sampling. It's slipper shells, which have accumulated. I don't know if they were there 3 years ago when he got the permit, but now there's a significant accumulation, and DEEP will expedite the permit if someone is able to dredge that area of South Pine Creek and get those shells out of there for access, because access is very limited now. Even at times of high tide, when I go up there at high tide, I'm just getting 6 feet of water, 6.5 feet of water coming into it, which is not a lot at a high tide. Again, June 6th, the boat was picked up from Norwalk, put back into service. Gave 2 PFD warnings to folks going out without PFDs, and I brought them over to the loaner rack, and these adults were appreciative that we had a loaner rack, and they put them on, so they now were safely going out on their paddle boards with them. June 7th was a busy day. We gave one kayak owner a registration reminder. Goose and gander were breaking loose. They were not tied up right, and they were one line away of both taking off. We then had to respond in the next hour to a dinghy that did escape from its sailboat at the mooring, and it was floating out of the harbor. That was rounded up. We had an issue with a mid-wall mooring line entanglement, a boat trying to tie up to its line, and it had become all tangled around the anchor, and there was no scope. And I have to give a thank you to Pequot. It's great having our mooring vendor in the harbor. I was able to call, and George was out in the boat within minutes, and we were able to get the mooring out of the water. He was able to adjust it, fix it. So it's great when the yacht club is there, always ready to assist for problems like this right away.
Was the mooring line or the float line that got tangled?
The mooring line, I believe, was tangled up, and he couldn't tie up to it. That was all straightened out. A conch trap attached itself to a sailboat, I believe, and got dragged into the channel. It was then tied up by the club right next to my boat. So I had 2 different groups of kids come over, and we spent some time pulling the trap out where it's tied up next to the harbor master boat, showing them what conch are and the crabs that have accumulated in it. And there's kind of a little learning experience, and they enjoyed learning a little bit more about the harbor. And there's more than just fish in the sound, and it's kind of cool looking at these things. There's commercial fishermen pulling conch or whelks out.
Whelks.
Whelk. I think conch is the other name for them, or scongili, as some like to call them, in New England as well. So we've done that. It seems like every time I go out there, kids are fishing. I bring them over and we talk about it, and doing a little learning exercise with it. We took water sampling June 11th. June 13th, we did blessing of the fleet. We responded to one kayak inquiry regarding tides. I had to give a warning to someone swimming in the channel. June 14th, this past Sunday, I did mooring inspections. 2 boaters called me over with questions or issues with their moorings. We retrieved 2 small logs floating in the harbor. We went up Pine Creek and did an inspection of the docks and the vessels there, and we responded to a kayak question. And again, we have the safety drill John and I are going to this Thursday, so if anyone would like to join us, 8:30 Yacht Yard, 9 o'clock Pequot Yacht Club. and can come out and observe with us. And I was talking about the new law that went into effect, which is good. It's all non-motorized vessels, canoes, kayaks, stand-up paddle boards, need to have a name and a contact information on them now. And we've been trying to spread the word, and that's helpful if we find one. We found one already this year floating. If you know whose it is, you can call right away and determine is someone in trouble and didn't come in and fell off their board, or is it just one that got loose? And now I have a stack of stickers. It found, reflective stickers that you can put with a Sharpie your name and some phone numbers and stick it right to your boat, or you can just write on it with a marker. So we're starting to give these out. I'm going to put them, send an email to everyone. I've already spoken to the people from the swim club by Southport Beach, or the little club there. They've asked for a bunch of them as well, and I've talked to the community sailing folks. Same thing. They've got to label all their kayaks for us on the rack.
Country Club has a big kayak rack too.
Oh, that's a good point. I'll go out there too and talk to them, just so we don't, do search and rescues unnecessarily or worry. Are we doing the right thing? Is it really abandoned? You always have that nagging concern that was someone on that and they fell off, some kid, and then no one knows. So we'll be circulating these. I'm going to get some more of them from Deep as well. Or you just take a Sharpie. I've been telling people, take a marker, take a tag, do something on your kayak, and just label it for us. So other than that, it's been quiet.
Has the fisherman been found that was
No.
on the reef?
Not yet.
Not yet.
They expected today, probably tomorrow. He would expect to.
He was in Waders.
Yep, he was in Waders. The gentleman, there's a good Samaritan who was quite the hero. The timing was perfect for this to happen in this sense, to getting rescued, because the gentleman went in. Two fellows were fishing. The one that's not found had hip waders on and went on. And this good Samaritan was holding them for close to a half hour, trying to support them on his phone the whole time. And luckily, the timing, the police were just getting there for the day, the Marine police, so they didn't have to call them in off duty. The fire boats are both out of the water, coincidentally, last week, and they're having trouble with the big one, the rental one. The small one next to me was pulled out for maintenance. It was having an issue as well, so they had no boats in the water. So luckily, the police were just getting there when this happened, so they can just scoot out of South Benson quickly. The gentleman was able to hold at least one of them up the whole time. The
Where
other
was
one
it?
not. Off Penfield Reef again. The trouble is the reef, as you know, or if you look at a chart, does not go straight from shore to Penfield Lighthouse. There's a curve to it. So people will always go on it. They'll walk out fishing, and it's happened repeatedly, unfortunately, despite signage. People will walk out, the tide comes in, they start to head back because now the reef's going underwater. And if you walk straight, you walk right off the edge of it, or slip off the edge of it, because if you don't know where the reef actually is going. It's very sad, and
I was taught to have a knife in
I-
the pocket.
I've heard the
right
same
there.
thing, to carry a knife, an emergency
Cut
knife
yourself out.
at all times, cut yourself out, or wear an inflatable PFD like I wear on the boat all the time. I don't even know it's on. I have a self-inflating PFD. They have fanny pack PFDs now you put on that are, the size of this book, and you just put them on your back that are self-inflating as well. And, we try to spread the message telling folks that. And
Because you walk out, I have the chart right here. You can see the spit of land going out
Yeah.
to the lighthouse. You go on either side, and it's up to your waist. You take a step, it's up to your neck,
right.
and then that's when you've got the problem.
And if it's rough at all, if there's a current, if you panic,
Well, if you're walking back and it's submerged, it's too late. You've left to go home too late.
or you are
right?
in a sandbar and the tide comes in.
yeah. Same thing happens at Charles Island. You'll see they pulled 5 people off this weekend successfully, who again got stuck in Milford. And a lot of folks come from out of state and out of the area. New York and New Jersey, always fishing there. It's a popular spot. They
don't
park
have
on
the
Reef
knowledge.
Road and walk out, don't have the knowledge, they're not boaters.
Oh, you're saying it's not rough rock all the way out? Or is it?
No, it's,
No.
Rocks are placed there all the way, or is it?
No, it's not.
sand?
It's not like a walking. It's not like this.
okay.
It's not like our Southport jetty that we have. That is nice and flat.
Yeah.
But you still fall off of that. It's
Yeah.
just as dangerous if it's wet and it gets slippery and you're
I
wearing
see.
rubber boots with not a lot of traction
I
with
thought
hip
they were
waders.
Placed rocks
see,
along.
there's the lighthouse there.
Yeah.
But those are rocks. Those are all those little.
I appreciated your life rack. wreck.
Oh, the life jacket rack, yeah.
Yes, my sister was in, and I took her out sailing, and my life PD too big for her.
Okay.
I sent her over there. She put on a child's one. It was
So that's what I did. I've been pointing it out to people, and that's the whole point of it. People that come without life jackets, they forget them. Like they said, the two I stopped had no idea they needed life jackets on a paddleboard.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
That's a good thing, but yeah.
That's it?
That's all.
Any other questions for Harbor Master?
I'm gonna call in remote, so I'll be in the car.
Okay.
Thanks for the rest. Thank you.
Our first item, I moved from down in the list to the top. There's a Pat Carroll Memorial Committee update. And Mike, if I may say on your behalf, you know, where we are with this.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Chairman. I think I've circulated the Pat Carroll Memorial Resolution to the whole committee now.
Correct. So after the last meeting, you will recall at the last meeting, we had a discussion around the report from the committee that had followed up with this, who had explored numerous different options for the memorial, and settled on the naming of the Lower Wharf Fishing Pier to be named after Pat Carroll as a memorial. And then Brian Leclerc drew up a resolution that would ask the town to declare this memorial in perpetuity. We also wanted to make sure that we had the proper rights to naming of that based upon the deed. So from after the last meeting, we sent the resolution and the deed for people to look at, so we understand what our responsibilities and obligations and rights are. So from then till now, I asked the committee to review that information so that we could come to a useful decision here and now, an intelligent decision. So I'll put it up for discussion, further discussion now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would simply refer the Commission to the circulated document headed Pat Carroll Memorial Resolution. Thank you.
Well, first, I think, are we comfortable as a commission that the deed provides us the responsibility and rights to name this fishing pier with this memorial? Are we satisfied with that?
I am.
Yes.
I believe so. I studied the deed, and it appeared to allow this without any hindrance.
I would say that I agree, but a little with a different slant to it. I'd say it's somewhat ambiguous. It does not go and say you have this right. It's rather silent on the topic, but it says that we have the responsibility of maintaining and of the whole thing. So I think that kind of slips in that right. It's not overt, but I say that I agree. We have that ability to do so. So with that ability to do so, we have a resolution written up by Brian Leclerc, and we reviewed that. Are we happy with that resolution? Would somebody move to accept that resolution?
One question, the resolution says nothing about a placard or plaque on the.
No, I think that just says that we're asking the RTM that we're going to be doing this renaming, and that that name would remain in perpetuity as sanctioned by the town RTM.
Okay.
We and then with all that in place, we then have to decide what a plaque looks like. Is it this big? Is it this big? Is it is it brass? Is it steel? We'd have to go through that process and get that done.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And also the first Selectwoman's office, they're seeking advice from the town attorney as to what is the next step, whether it does need confirmation by the RTM, but we will get advice from the town attorney after this meeting, she said.
So, do we have a motion to accept the resolution as drawn up by Brian Leclerc? Hello?
This is Doug Mudchick. Can you hear me?
I can, yep. Hi, Brian. Hi, Doug.
I just had one comment on the resolution that I wasn't clear on, and it has to do with the paragraph that's labeled number 1. It begins that henceforth the public fishing and observation pier at the Lower Wharf. It's that paragraph in the resolution. It seems to me, well, I guess the question I would ask is the proper name of this going to be the Patrick L. Carroll Jr. Memorial Pier at the Lower Wharf, or is it just the Patrick L. Carroll Jr. Memorial Pier, and that pier happens to be located at the Lower Wharf? In other words, is at the Lower Wharf part of the proper name?
So, that would...
My question would be, I would either strike the words at the Lower Wharf in the second portion of that sentence because it's already stated a few words before it, or I would put quotes around Patrick L. Carroll Jr. Memorial Pier so that the words at the Lower Wharf are not part of the proper noun.
I would agree.
I would take it as the lower. I think that the wording at the Lower Wharf just confirms where it is.
But we've already said that in the earlier in the sentence. I would take it out to make it less ambiguous.
That's correct. That's true, Mr. Kerr.
That's what I would
That's
suggest.
true. Yeah.
Do we have a motion to proceed with that amendment, removing the words "at the Lower Wharf" after Patrick L. Carroll Jr. Memorial Pier?
Yes, from me, Michael.
Mike moves, and
I'll second.
Mike Evans seconds. Although, is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Hearing no nays, it passes unanimously as expected. Thank you very much. That was great news.
With the change in wording.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we then.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you for your work in the committee. So now, with that, we go to the work of executing to figure out what it looks like, how it goes, how it has done, and making sure as Jeff said that our town attorney gives us the green lights and all of this. So we'll move forward from here. This is good news.
And the first Selectwoman's assistant looking forward to ahead to when the pier is completed, and there's a dedication ceremony and an invitation to not just state legislators but also the congressional delegation who were here for Pat's 100th birthday. So she was talking about that and looking forward to that. And then I'll just say as a personal comment that Pat set a standard for integrity and a life of truth and honor that we can all aspire to. It's difficult for many of us to attain that. In my opinion, very, very fitting honor for no one more deserving in town.
Unanimously approved. Okay. Thank you very much. Moving on to the Harbor Management's legislation initiative.
I spoke at the annual public hearing of the Connecticut Port Authority this morning, which was held in the Westport Library, interestingly, and there were a number of people online, but only 2 of us spoke at the hearing. And I mentioned this issue of the harbor management legislation and requested that the Port asked that on behalf of a number of harbor commissioners that the Port Authority facilitate a discussion with the Connecticut Deep to resolve this matter, especially since the ruling by the court in effect invalidated most all of the harbor management plans, which call for the harbor commissions to review and make comments on applications for state permits. So I have to follow up on that with the Port Authority. It was also mentioned, though, that now the Deep Commissioner has resigned. the former director of the Land and Water Resources Division has retired. The attorney, the deep attorney who was most adamantly opposed to this legislation, he's left for, as you might imagine, a better paying job. So, but also with the understanding that the town's preparing the updates to the plans will proceed now with an update that incorporates what we feel should be the correct approach to implementation, which DEEP has approved in other plans. So we'll continue, and Kim I think you may have listened to the meeting today. So we'll continue with the update of the plan, just as the other towns are. They're updating them, and hopefully the Port Authority will be able to provide some support. The understanding is that we were not successful at all this year, this just past legislative session, because it was what's called a short session. And the bills that are considered are typically bills that were agreed to before the session started, not introduced during the session. So we'll keep working, and now we have also additional support from Eastern Connecticut, from the city of Groton, and New London is going to keep pursuing it. So we're all together in this. So that's where we are. We'll keep working on it.
We've got quite a lot to go through here, so let's move on to the tide. Any questions for Jeff on that matter? Sorry. Moving on to the Tide Mill Dam repair update. Movement has occurred. Jeff, why don't you describe what we have in hand?
Well,
we'll talk about our steps.
Well, we've now, I've got I don't know who initiated the call yesterday. Oh, as Brian was talking about with the slipper shells at Pine Creek, I was talking with a DEP person who then said that he had received an email from the owner of the Tide Mill Dam to inform the person at DEP that the owner had submitted a application. He described it as submitted the permits to the town, but it meant the applications for the permits for the town plan and zoning approval for the reconstruction of the dam and the tide gates. So then we inquired, and it turned out that was submitted on, I guess last week was when, but anyway, the application has been forwarded to the Harbor Commission, as it should be according to the general statutes and the town code, for the Harbor Commission's review and comments back to TP&Z, their advisory comments. And the statute provides for a 35-day notification by TPZ before they can act on approval or denial of what. So we need to check with TPZ to see what their schedule is for acting on this, and whether or not it would be necessary to have a special meeting before the July meeting to review and discuss it, and invite the applicant in as is the due course to explain the project. And so I guess the first thing is to distribute that application to everyone, and to check with TPZ about what their schedule is for acting on it.
So we have we received it, and we received it in the email to Harbor Management Commission, and we'll distribute that to the commissioners after this meeting for review, with the idea to make sure that it is consistent with the harbor management plan, and that would be our finding, which we would submit to TPZ. The mechanics of getting that done may require an extra special meeting, in which case, hopefully we'd be able to do that by phone, by Zoom.
However, I guess there just need to be an opportunity for the public to comment, and
Yeah.
But whatever the FOI requirement or restrictions may be, but assuming we could do it by Zoom.
Jan, would you check on that to make
Yes.
sure that that's possible? And then,
Do we have a date?
no, I think we need to find out from TPZ what their
I'll do that tomorrow.
okay, and if you could let
'Cause
Jan know.
The timing for the 35 days, it was received on the 12th, and I'm assuming it's 35 calendar days, not 35 business days.
I don't, the statute just says 35 days prior to a final decision or a hearing on the matter.
Okay, so it's 29th to the 10th. 30, 31, 32, 33. Yeah, we would miss it by 1 week. The 35 days would be up on July 14th.
But that doesn't mean that the TPZ may not be prepared to act on it before then.
Correct, yeah.
If they anticipate acting on it after that, but again, we don't know.
So let's find out.
Yes.
We'll find out, and then we'll try to get something on the docket for us. But and we'll talk about that in a new business, because we're getting into sort of complicated vacation times where, you know, we may have a difficult time putting together a quorum. So we want to make sure, you know, for that special meeting as well as our July meeting, regular meeting, and August meeting, we want to touch base on that.
And we would want to get input from, I believe, from the Conservation Department and the Conservation Director, because they don't have a regular, or a requirement to comment on this as we do, but they might have information that would be of interest to us.
Are we the only agent, the commission that is reviewing?
Yes, it's a specific requirement in the statutes and the town code. They also provide it to DEEP as well.
But not engineering?
No. Well, I mean, they can provide it to get comments. I'm assuming that they would be, you know, smart enough to do that.
Yeah, but we want to find out from you know, Tim Bishop or someone within you know, conservation, just what it is that they feel this has an effect on the harbor that we're bound to maintain according to the harbor management plan. So that's the relevance to us.
Yeah.
And we'll do that, as well as Jeff had recommended, either the owner or the owner's engineer, call that Race, have somebody come in and present to us, you know, the details so that we can fully understand the project and comment on it knowledgeably.
Can the public be involved in this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Well, the public,
Yeah. It's a public meeting.
it's a public meeting, but the you know, you'll be able to attend, but we vote, right? Yeah.
Who's going to reach out to TPC to find out? You'll-
Mr. Mullins tomorrow, or Mr. Mullen, I'll contact him tomorrow. That was who referred it to you, I
Yeah.
saw in the email.
Will it be clear in the application for permit what exactly they're doing? Technically and
Yes,
and
Ray,
is there a
Ray
description?
has drawings present.
Oh, so Race has
and-
prepared this.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
It's an application for planning and zoning approval, different from the state approval. And in the past, when there have been applications for docks and other projects in the harbor, there's been a procedure that the Harbor Commission followed that involved the applicant making a presentation, the commission asking questions of the applicant, allowing the public to speak, but not an interaction between, you know, the public and the proponent, allowing the public to express comments, the applicant then having a summary statement, and then the Harbor Commission discussing, you know, what to do. But in order to avoid the back and forth discussion and somebody asks a question, you know, that's not something that's been part of the procedure previously.
So the special meeting will have to be either in person or on Zoom, so the public can comment?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would
So
imagine.
this is a document that we have. I took a look at it, and it's mostly just the drawings. There's 14 pages of it. I haven't really gone into much detail myself, but they're
But a preamble or a summary of what they're actually doing.
yeah.
Good.
There's the whole report, which is dam repair. It's I don't know how many pages. It's quite a few. It's 84 pages.
Oh, I look forward to it. Is there Fish and Wildlife are infected by this in some way? Who addresses those things?
Those are questions that we would ask, and I think that the Fish and Wildlife impact is probably something that DEEP, you know, in the DEEP permit. This is a planning and zoning land use, and it's called a coastal site plan review. So under the State Coastal Management Act, any land use proposal in the coastal area has to be reviewed by planning and zoning with respect to the policies of the Coastal Management Act.
Then it goes to DEEP?
No. DEEP has an advisory role in this. This isn't the regulatory stuff that, you know, where DEEP had to give a permit for, you know, work in the water. This is looking at a large part about the upland impacts on the roadways, on adjoining properties, you know, just like they did for the Perry Green project and also for our Lower Wharf project. We had DEEP permits for that, but planning and zoning had to review the upland part of it.
So for this work, though, DEEP will issue a permit? Or?
No, they already have.
Oh, they already
Oh,
have?
yes, DEEP issued the
okay.
permit.
Yep, that's right.
Within the
Sorry.
last year or a while ago.
That's right.
But it needs the land use approval now too. And you know, one standard, what they required for the lower wharf work was some sort of, as an example, containment structures so the work didn't adversely affect, the upland work didn't adversely affect the harbor.
So that's the process that we're following here. We'll get that report out, these 3 documents out to the commissioners right away, and that we'll find out from TPZ the timing and how we can schedule something probably by Zoom. And I'm saying that just from the standpoint of making sure that we get enough people for a quorum. Sorry, what?
It would be very difficult to review that report on a Zoom call and know where you are. I got that report this afternoon. I haven't gone through the whole thing, but it's very confusing which image you're on a long device.
Can we upload it to the,
Yes.
if I get it to you, can we upload it to the website?
Still got a lot of small print.
Yeah,
It's gonna be very
Well,
hard to see. If people.
We'll do the best we can.
we only have those PDFs. We don't have any bigger pictures of them
That's what I'm
ourselves.
saying.
Yeah,
From a public perspective, if they don't have that report,
right.
they're gonna be,
We can attach, if we have a special meeting, we can attach those reports to the packet, to the meeting, so everybody is able to review them before the meeting.
It would be great if you could make it available maybe like a week in advance or something, so people have an opportunity
it's
to
available
download
now.
it.
like
Are you okay putting it on the website,
No, I'm talking
like
about
tomorrow?
general public.
Yeah.
I don't see why we can't. If our intention is to have this presented to the commission for a special hearing or special meeting, I don't see why that information couldn't be made available, because it's going to be a public meeting that we're talking about, so as a public meeting, we.
So look for it in our documents.
He has them already, he said.
No, in our you have them, but anybody else that needs to see them, I'll get them to Jen Reed tomorrow, and then she'll put them on our website.
Awesome, thank you.
So notice will be given to public and everyone else with sufficient time to get this done. Okay.
Do you want me to email the other commissioners then, those plans? Take care of that?
That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a quick question, Chairman. How do you want us to review it? Do you want to have a bullet points of what we find in the document? Do you want us to mark it in the margins or give you a summary of some sort?
I think that would be very cumbersome. I think what you should probably do is as we, there's general questions that you may have about this work being done that might affect this project, how it might affect the use of the harbor as it is dictated in the harbor management plan. I would leave it to that and say, here's my point that I'm concerned about, bearing in mind that if we say that if as a result of our deliberation, we come to the conclusion that this project is not consistent with the harbor management plan, then that triggers the TPZ to have a super majority to approve as opposed to a simple majority. So, we want to make sure that, that could trigger that they have to go back and change the plan and do something differently, or it gets shut down altogether. Okay? Being mindful of time, I'm going to move on to the next one. Lower Wharf rebuild. Jeff.
That's me. I don't have an up-to-date report. When we were doing the program for the parade and the blessing, Mr. Hurley said it was okay to put in the note that completion is expected in July. However, I've been directed to talk with Mr. Parlanti. Is that, Jan, in the capital projects group? Is that within your office?
No, it's not in my office.
Okay, but that apparently that this is a group, a person in town, must be within purchasing or finance. With finance that's following up on the contracts. And so engineering today said that he would be the person to give us most up-to-date report on when completion is expected. But he had left by the time I came in today. So the latest we heard from Bill was that hopefully it will be completed in July. And that's what we put down on the, well, anyway.
I'm just amused how slow they're going. You go down there and there's nothing happening.
Well,
And also apparently I didn't call Race because apparently they're doing some sort of oversight too for the town, since they did the permit drawings and so forth.
they
So-
added steel pilings, apparently. I don't think they were in the original plan.
And Mr. Hurley is on vacation now, so today he left, so we'll find out more. I can send an email to I wish to send around to everybody.
Thank you. Mr. Warren, are you on the call for the mooring committee? Brian, do you have any comments on the mooring committee?
Nothing other than I had in my report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. So I do know that Jeff has been wondering about the finances and the tracking of the accounting. He had some questions that lingered today. I think you can try and get that settled. He questions as to whether the 102 account is actually as high as being reported, considering we've spent money on the harbor master boat and all the rest of it. So we'll get to the bottom of that one. Harbor management plan update.
Kim's here. We didn't get together before this meeting tonight, but we are, as I mentioned, updating or revising the plan maps to put on the water use plan and the description of existing conditions on the most recent Google Earth image instead of the sketches that we had before. And we're working on that last chapter again with the language. So we'll have something for the next meeting. I think we said we were going to have something this month, but we've been working on other things. But
Okay. So sand management plan, really the one thing relating to Yee Yacht Yard we've discussed. And if during the Corps of Engineers soundings bathymetric testing or study, they can press into that zone and learn more about the current status of shoaling there, that would be useful for us.
I was wishing that your emergency process was gonna be done at very low tide, and then we could have seen if there was a problem. If those people couldn't launch, if they couldn't do things.
I don't know what tide it's gonna be, but
It is rising in the morning, but
Yeah.
I think it's high, maybe around 1.
And it's not very low tides right now.
no.
Our comment on it, Brian and I talked about it in the boats, and what we've really came up with, if you're gonna satisfy the harbor master boats, the fire boat, and the community sailing boats, they need that dredge to 6 feet for them to be available to access their moorings or leave their moorings at the lowest tide, which Brian has agreed with me is right now listed at minus 1.7.
Yeah.
1.7, yeah.
I think we all agree that there's a dredging need. I mean, there's no doubt around that. And if during the emergency drill, the safety drill, it's 9 a.m. It's 20 of 9. It'll be dead low tide in the morning, and then it's high tide at almost 3 o'clock. So it's kind of right in the middle of it. So I don't think that's going to be the time for it. Okay, but the other issue would be the area where the dredging occurred. Do we as a commission want to have a submission for a SHIPS grant to partially pay for an engineering study to determine strategies that we might employ that the Country Club of Fairfield would agree to, that would remediate and slow down accretion of sand into that area above and through the seawall?
From what you said, I think that's the direction we should take, is that what they've said is we need to take the responsibility if you're coming up with a plan. They will look at it and comment, and
When do we have to have a submission in for the next round of SHIPS grants?
it opens on September 1st, so we have the month of September to submit an application. And we would need an engineer, a professional estimate of the cost of doing it,
Of doing the study.
of doing this, the evaluation. Yes, the study.
If we met with Race, would they give it to us, an estimate that
Oh,
we could
yes.
work from, so we could just?
Yes.
So, but I think we need to know the right question to ask first, what it is that we're asking them to do. May I ask you to maybe go take a hand at crafting just what that question would be, and we can address that at the next meeting. I mean, it's like if if we are going to ask for a study, we need to ask for the study that gives us the results that we want, and I don't want it to, and limit the scope of that study.
Well, one thing, I understand what the country club was talking about safety and issues around that beach. And I think that's one of the things, is to look at, as you design that trap, can it be a safe trap that's no more than what the beach is now, but it's just evacuated behind the seawall? Because
They're not happy about a trap.
unless that seawall's there, we're gonna have stuff, unless we put something that's a stop, it's just gonna keep coming over.
Agreed. So that's what the engineer Santi was saying, was there aren't a lot of solutions to this. You know, maybe it's, and what I suggested, he agreed, maybe the answer is a hygienic thing, that every year you're scooping up portions of sand and putting it in other parts of the beach.
That is basically the proposal.
Yeah.
That's not what the title of the pool is. That's not what the trap is.
I'm not convinced that the trap is gonna be as ugly as they think. But you've gotta do the engineering to show it to them.
Maybe, but maybe the answer is just annual or semi-annual.
Well, no matter what we do, it'd have to be annual removal to keep whatever we make serviceable, or it's
I don't
zero
know.
value.
I don't know how it's worked, but so again, if you could craft the question that we would ask of Race, before they give us a price, we'd need to know what it is that we're asking for, and we're what are solutions that to
Can I work with Jeff on it?
Sure.
But I just my comment, that it's not an unique problem. The jetties, are all over the country, and the basic aspect of building a jetty is that the function of it is maintained, and that either involves bypassing the sand, on the other side, or backpassing it. It's just a standard aspect of when you construct the jetty.
Santi was saying the same thing. He's involved with projects all over the country with the same thing. You're totally right, Jeff. And he says there are not a lot of solutions, and they're pretty basic.
The jetty was a solution.
Yeah.
We haven't maintained it as a solution, and that's the problem.
But we're
and now people are saying,
we're not going to dig it back up on the other side of the channel all the way out. That's not going to happen. Or else we would have done that when we dredged just now. I mean, there's limitations with, the grasses and plants on one side, the amount of sand that's removed. But in any case, why don't you put your hand to that?
Take a shot at it.
But I mean,
And again, with the understanding that this doesn't commit anyone to anything, it just helps us understand the problem and what the cost might be for solving it.
And there may be 2 or 3 possible solutions that
Yeah.
they talk about, and we pick based on what's acceptable.
yeah, and
And there may be a best that we say no because nobody wants to look like that, and we're making a compromise. But if we can't come up with what are the solutions, and then make until we do the engineering, you can't tell what it's going to look like or what the best solutions are.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Very good.
Outer Harbor Channel dredging.
Well, that's our next ongoing project. And again, the project manager is Coral Siligato again. There are 3 Corps of Engineers projects now that are in the planning stages in Western Connecticut, or let's exclude Bridgeport Harbor and Black Rock for now. But there's Greenwich Harbor, there's a channel in Stamford, and there's this project here. Even though a tremendous amount of money and time has been spent on the Greenwich project, it's still a long ways because there's what's called unsuitable material, and there's no place to put it. So our project, in effect, is ahead of those, even though we haven't done any work on it yet, because the material is suitable for placing in Long Island Sound. So she's got to start the survey of it and the calculation of the material, and they have to do sampling and testing to confirm that. And then I haven't yet sent that harbor information form to her. She wasn't pressing on it. She said if we could just get that in the next couple of weeks or so, which is a formality, it sort of checks the box. But she has to organize the survey group to come and do an outer harbor survey and then do the sampling and testing. And then as part of the federal dredging project, not of the outer harbor, but they also are going to need to come down and assess the success of the transplanting of the plants for the inner harbor dredging that was done. And they want the botanist to come again to do an analysis of how the plants survived. The botanist said that can't be done until August, when the rarest plants bloom. So that's I guess I'd send an email to him. He asked if that would be acceptable to the Corps, and they said yes. And so a date in August, we're going to have the botanist come again. The 2 people from the Corps will come and talk to the botanist, and then there will be a discussion depending on how the plants survived as to what to do next. Because DEEP also wants to come down and look at the area. The Corps won't invite them until after the Corps looks at it. And then in the meantime, we need to put up those conservation plant signs. Please don't disturb. Those were simple to put up.
You said there was a design that they...
Simple little 7 by 11.
Okay. Is this something I can help you with, or you'll take care of it, or?
Well, we had the volunteers, Kim and Bruce Keepner, who put all the stakes in the last time, but
Sure.
I can get there's like 2 or 3 of them. That's all. We can do that. But so there's a lot to work on. But
All right, thank you. So we talked about status of a project for the SHIPS grant. That would be the study. Are there other projects that we might be wanting to pose?
Brian is on the phone. He was wondering if it might be a possible project. Well, Brian can speak for himself.
Jeff, go ahead. What do you want me to talk about?
Well, you were talking about perhaps designing and permitting for extension of the dock at Yee Yacht Yard to accommodate the emergency service vessel, which is...
Yeah, that was one thought, was to if possible, and staying on the channel, I think we may have enough room to make a wing coming off of the dock at Yee Yacht Yard to put the new fireboat safely there. That's one of the ideas that they seem interested in. Basically, where their boat is right now, having an extension coming off towards the channel, big enough where they can put their boat on the outside of it. So it would be very fast access. Move the harbor master boat over to the inside of it, so it'd be more protected, and then not taking up that much space. But those boats are both have deeper water, and just the fireboat can get out right away.
Is that what you were talking about earlier with the donated dock from the Pequot?
That's correct. That's one of the ideas, was to put it there. The other one was potentially to put it off of Yee Yacht Yard to the west of the metal dock now, where the dock where the other dinghies are, Goose and Gander are, but potentially coming off of shore there, if there's enough water in that little area to put the fireboat, it's just the fireboat there. So that's something else. I think we have to look at depth there as well.
But that's not a SHIPS grant project, right?
It could be. In talking to Jeff, it could be. It could be another request we can put in for further funding for that dock. So we'd have to get permits for that dock, as I understand.
The town of Stratford, Brian knows, the town of Stratford did essentially the same thing with a SHIP grant to provide a new dock for the emergency services on the Housatonic River. And the first phase was the design and permitting, and then they got money for the actual construction of it. This is a less substantial project than what we did in Stratford, but it's the same idea.
Okay.
Emergency services dock.
Well, then, Brian, maybe you and Jeff could work on something that we might be able to submit. I mean, it sounds like it would just, if we're getting a dock donated by the yacht club, then, it would just be putting it into place might be quite small.
The other issue though is too, that
It would be,
these are grants that are matching grants, so even the engineering and permitting and the design is a 50% match from the local
Yeah.
sponsor. So we'd have to check on the available.
But I mean, if it's a day's work to attach the dock to the end of the other dock,
Yeah.
doesn't sound like that's going to be a large sum of money that would require a ship's grant, is what I'm saying.
But it might, they might need to get a permit for it, and then of course that requires the permit application and the design, and so an engineer to do it. But those are things we can figure out.
You've also got
Okay.
another owner of the property there that's got a fairly large boat docked right in that area. If you extend out, I don't know what it does to their
Yeah.
egress and access to that.
True.
You might need an additional
Yeah,
piling
no,
or two to hold it in place.
we'd be closer to shore instead of going at the end. The thought was instead of going off the end of the dock by Goose and Gander, sticking it closer to shore.
And I'm sorry to keep talking, but
So that's something we
Race did the permit for us for the Lower Wharf project and the dredging and the boat ramp, so they would be logical to ask them to do a professional engineer's estimate of the cost for the permitting and.
I would like to volunteer as a participant in this item, if you need my help, between Brian and Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Was that Michael?
Yes.
Thank you.
Nishwal.
Which 42 of them around here.
That's a valid point. Good point.
You get one, you get them all.
Sorry. Are there further SHIPS grant projects that we might want to consider for the September submission? Okay. Moving on, that's our old business. We're done there. Are there any new business items? New applications? Public comment?
Well, I'd just like to,
Michael Ver speaking. I'm going to have to bow out of the meeting now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael.
Mr. Chairman.
to continue with the tradition of pictures, this is what the upper river looks like now with the green algae growth closer up, and so that you can really see the density of it. And I think Carl has a picture of it that's even better than some of those. So I'd like to pass those around. But my point today is that last meeting, I brought up the question about a subcommittee for educating your new members and bringing in some professional influencers and knowledgeable experts that, starting with Tim Bishop, to explain what's going on the river and see if we can get you guys involved in that. All of your mission statements and things like that, and your duties, powers and duties, it says, are to protect the harbor, conduct and initiate studies and operations in the adjacent to the that certainly gives you the authorities and all that. Why wouldn't you get the 5 new members, which is basically half of your committee, involved in something that's going to get them to a higher level so that we can have that for the future? That's kind of my point.
Well, I think we have a course of action with the now that the application for the has been submitted, and we're reviewing that, so we're following that course. More education for us will come through that process where we're studying that proposal, that application closely.
I'm talking about more than just the application. There's $14 million gallons of water that will be pumped out of that river, contributing to it. These images are of a river that hasn't looked like that since before it was dredged by Exxon.
Yeah.
The river last night was able to be walked across up by the Mill Hollow Park. It's really shallow. Don Hyman said he couldn't get down the river in his kayak. And Don, he's an avid kayaker. I mean, you can't get up the river with it either, so the change is drastic. The ospreys haven't been around all week, probably because the fish that are there are not the ones that are appropriate, because it's too small.
Right.
You know, the contributions from the algae comes from hot water and lack of oxygen. You know, these are all things that we ought to understand, and we all admitted last meeting that we didn't know. All we know is what we observed. There's scientists that know this stuff. This isn't new. And there's people that can give us support and help. You know.
Are you aware there's a group of people? They're very active in this already, I believe, and they meet for coffee. Who's that group that meets for coffee at the
Conservation group? Yeah.
The conservation group. Are you aware of them? No, they're Don Hyman is. He's been to some of their meetings.
John Dilley.
Mill River Wetlands.
Mill River Wetlands.
I know of that.
John Dilley's with Mill River, right?
Right.
But there's a bunch of other people who go to that. I've gone to that a few times.
Okay, I've never been, but yeah, they're a very active group, and they might be the answer to a lot of what you're looking for.
But you don't see them on the river, right? I'm out there once, twice a week, my wife even more often, and I mean, if you live on the river and you use the river, you see what's going on. I don't see many other people on there other than people having to walk their kayaks because it's so low at the moment. But we'll find out who's on the Wetlands Commission, and maybe we can attend some of those meetings. But
This is an informal group that George is talking about.
Yeah, no, there's another group that Joyce Shaw started years and years ago that brings all of the children in town to the Upper Mill River. It's certainly going to change the environment that those kids are going to be encouraged to go in and to learn. And I would be very surprised if those mothers wouldn't get very riled up if they knew that this type of thing was going to close that down after all the work that's been into it. I think they just had an anniversary and they opened up a trail in honoring Joyce Shaw, in addition to there being a commemorative tree planted in her.
Yep.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Kim?
So, I was going to talk in similar lines as Tom, but
I think Kim
Carl
was about.
Linford,
Okay.
634 Bronson, so I live opposite Tom, up by Sturgis Bridge, opposite Mill Hollow Park. So it's great news that the application's been filed, first of all. But I think time is of the essence, and I really implore you to try and get this reviewed and approved without letting it lag. So within that time frame that we have, please do whatever you can to make sure that it gets reviewed and approved. This is pictures from this week. This is why I say time is of the essence. That dam is falling apart. There's already a huge slab of concrete that's come off the top. I don't know how many of you actually been and looked at it, but take a look at this. This has taken past few days. The amount of water that is coming through those holes now, because there's no tide gates, is just literally blowing the concrete off it. It's blasting it away. And my fear is that dam will just give way if it's not repaired soon. So I implore you to process the application, review it, make sure it's open for public comment. We'll be there, whether it's on Zoom or if it's in person.
Thank you.
We'll be there. Okay, thank you.
Kim, you had something to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say that I personally am delighted that you guys are going to honor Pat Carroll. He had a great impact on this commission. During COVID, when we were not able to meet in person, we all met on the phone, and Pat started to attend meetings. He was not as ambulatory as he would have liked, but he started to attend meetings when we were meeting by phone, and he continued to attend meetings by phone until he died. That was several years. He also served on the Mooring Rules Update Committee, which, Mr. Chairman, you know, was a massive project. Pat was an important member of that committee and offered good suggestions and insights into the changes that were made by the committee. And finally, this commission threw him a 100th birthday party down at the Yacht Yard. He had the most amazing group of people attend. Former commissioners, former chairs of this commission, former select people, Washington delegation, state delegation. I mean, it was remarkable, and he was a remarkable man. So, good work. I personally am very pleased that you're going to do this.
He was our great friend, and I'm interrupting Kim. There was also a former FBI supervising officer who Pat had been good friends with, and who mentioned that at the time Pat was the oldest living FBI agent in the world. She had something from the FBI because he had gone through the FBI Academy as a police officer, and that gave him the distinction as an FBI agent. Pat got a kick out of that. But nobody deserves a recognition, in my opinion, as he does.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, we're all unanimously agreeing. I have any further public comment? We're okay. One thing before we adjourn, Jan, would you please send an email to the commissioners asking them if they plan or intend to be at the meetings in July and August for reasons of maintaining a quorum. If we can't get a quorum, then we won't have the meeting. But better to know that earlier than later. And maybe, yeah. So when we submit the documents on the Tide Mill,
Right.
we should make mention of the fact that a special meeting is likely by Zoom or in person, and to make sure that you're available for that, because we need to have we'll definitely have a quorum for that as well.
Will we be able to get a Zoom room?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Very good.
I mean, okay, great. Anything further? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.